accept the fact that a certain amount of your privacy has to be curtailed.
Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would.
The 10th commander in this situation was on the other side of the street in another bunker.
You know, as a socialist, the word socialism does not frighten me, and I think it's probably fair to say.
It is difficult to draw the line between personal privacy, family privacy.
If you did run for president, you believe you'd win?
Well, I don't know. I think I'd
If I
win.
were to run for office and I didn't serve in the military, is that going to be something?
Take over the world, world domination, rule everything.
As opposed to the life and times of Donald Trump. And do you know what the answer was?
New York City has virtually no construction right now.
You know, I'm not sitting here as some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette.
Getting ready for a hilarious laugh. They knew it was going to be funny what I had to say.
Recognize the fact that they need to go to having all candidates collecting 1,000 signatures.
I'll vote to keep George Bush and Dan Quayle in the White House.
I can sleep well at night knowing that people are voluntarily giving me my money to fund my campaign.
This has been a process that I haven't been involved in before.
Laid end to end, that's 12 miles of red tape.
That the wealthiest 1% of the population in this country owns more wealth.
2 copies of the Cato study that I intend to review.
I don't think dialysis is a good idea because it's too expensive. You get kidney failure, you die.
Joseph built the pyramids in order to store grain.
That you can have a shining soul and be a great business success at the same time.
He said, what I say goes. I am the law.
If you look at your lobbyists and everyone else, they're all Republicans or Democrats.
I'll tell you what, it's a little frustrating every morning to walk up and not have it be in the same color as all those other red states.
It's not possible to be completely outside of politics and get elected.
So it's not as if I have to take the same size pie and divide the slices.
Radio shock jocks, Opie and Anthony, have been kicked off the air.
We were led to believe that there were only 2 choices. There were 2 choices from the big money party.
The country clubs and the cocktail parties are not real America.
So I'll ask the question, Secretary Wolfowitz, give you a chance. What are we doing there?
They woke up knowing a call would come and that they would answer.
A lot of people saw that, yeah.
Who won?
I can't remember.
Trump won.
Oh, Trump!
My campaign manager is a woman. My deputy campaign manager is an African-American woman.
Fences as necessary, although I'm not in favor of a Berlin Wall across the southern border.
Today is about becoming #1, not 50th on all those good lists.
Any good liberal tried to fight for first by looking to the government. Total mistake.
As I was blinking my eyes, I was saying some special code, Morse code.
Ambassador Crocker, I cannot tell you how proud I am of both of you.
Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June in California.
We get to know each other really well in those elevators, don't we?
John McCain's positions by painting it as hands-off, free market.
The party's not going to change, and so I disaffiliated, became an independent.
About 7 weeks now that I haven't had access to handcuffs. Appreciate that.
Coverage that my 25-year-old brother-in-law, who never gets sick and thinks he's never going to die.
Okay, and when you climb a mountain, well, you can't fly up there. The air's too thin.
While I'm not at this time a candidate for the presidency, I will decide by June.
I can't. The third one I can't. Sorry. Oops.
And leaves were falling where once we watched.
Who dat? Who dat saying they're gonna beat them Saints?
They don't want a free ride. They don't want to be a non-taxpayer. They want to be a taxpayer.
Barack Obama, what he was like, anti-war government.
Trying to blow up America's, you got the right to remain silent. Here's your lawyer.
To bring people together, then invite them over for some brats and some burgers, right?
Take all the time. Explain if you think I worked against our country.
Was the awful noise coming from the hotel room next door to mine?
Especially created for detaining protesters at the debate.
They'd go kill some Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
The president laid out tonight.
To the legality.
I would not eat green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam, I am.
I was in overalls and a hat, so I wasn't, but I actually was the guy working the cones out.
I appreciate you all so much. Good luck. God bless you, and thank you all very much for this win. Thank you.
Today, I am announcing that I'm running for President of the United States.
Today, I announce with God's help, with the help of liberty lovers everywhere, that I am putting myself forward as a candidate
for President of the United States of America.
These sequester cuts, if they're continued, we'll create a dramatic reduction in GDP.
And I'm a Republican.
Take care.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president. Americans have fought their way back from tough economic times, but the deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top. Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that
Grounded
champion.
by the lessons of our history, but inspired by the promise of our future, I announce my candidacy for President of the United States.
No, we're in this race to win. You are looking at a guy, undisputably, who has the most unusual political history of anybody in the United States.
Well, yes. So far, what's been told to me by police is that at least 2 suspects have been shot outside the Curtis Caldwell Center here in Garland.
Exactly what were they doing at the time? We understand the SWAT team was called in?
Yes, so the SWAT team apparently were the ones who stopped these 2 suspects. There are possible explosives at the scene. They currently have their bomb squad scouring the premise to see if there are any possible devices or any ordnance in the area.
And very quickly, Christopher, what was this event?
It was an art expo and art contest depicting the Prophet Muhammad. So various artists from around the country were represented today, one of which was able to talk.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president.
Our founders never intended us to have a professional political class. They believed that citizens and leaders needed to step forward. We know the only way to reimagine our government is to reimagine who is leading it. I'm Carly Fiorina, and I'm running for president.
Now I've introduced my family. You say, well, who are you? I'll tell you. I'm Ben Carson, and I'm a candidate for president of the United States.
It seems perfectly fitting that it would be here that I announce that I am a candidate for President of the United States of America.
I announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
I am proud to stand here among you and for you, the American workers who have sacrificed so much, to announce that I am running for President of the United States.
I announce I'm a candidate for the Republican nomination for President of the United States.
And that is why today, to you and to all who can hear my voice, I declare that I am a candidate for President of the United States, and I am running for you.
I'm Lindsey Graham, and I'm running for President of the United States.
Formally entering the race for the Democratic nomination for president. Thank you.
And that is exactly why today I am running for the presidency of the United States of America.
And I've decided I'm a candidate for president of the United States of America.
The best news of the day was my mom finally told me that I was her favorite.
Oh, no, I didn't. You mean of all the children?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's great to be at Trump Tower. It's great to be in a wonderful city, New York. And it's an honor to have everybody here. This is beyond anybody's expectations. There's been no crowd like this. And I can tell you, some of the candidates, they went in, they didn't know the air conditioner didn't work. They sweated like dogs. They didn't know the room was too big because they didn't have anybody there. How are they going to beat ISIS? When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. And I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm just really happy right now. A billionaire vanity candidate taking the escalator to the White House.
Hey, only losers walk. Presidents take Stair Force One.
America's id is running for president. Trump is the part of your brain that's like at 3 a.m. going, let's go take a in a mailbox. Come on, who's gonna know?
Thank you, Donald Trump, for making my last 6 weeks my best 6 weeks.
No! He is putting me in some kind of comedy hospice. where all I'm getting is just straight
Police in
morphine.
South Carolina are looking for a gunman following a shooting at a church in downtown Charleston Wednesday night. Our CBS station WCSC says the shooter walked into the Emmanuel AME Church and opened fire. We do know there are several victims, but it's unclear at this time how many and if there are any fatalities. Police are describing the suspect as a clean-shaven white male, about 21 years old, with a slender build, wearing a gray sweatshirt and blue jeans. Let's go to our station in Charleston for the very latest.
A man who has told me he is a member of Emmanuel. He didn't want to go on camera, but he said he was there earlier today. They were having a quarterly meeting, something that's fairly routine, and after the meeting was Bible study, and it was a small group. Earlier we heard Harv Jacobs say that only one person had come to MUSC. Well, this gentleman told me the rest of the victims, or several of the victims, may still be
And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump. I especially like
What about of all of them? I mean, Scott
fake
Walker?
laughter from the audience. Bernie Sanders, it would be much tougher.
Bernie Sanders?
It would be much tougher to beat him than
You think would be a better candidate than Hillary?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
because he would
cares
excite
about
the base.
American middle class, working class. Hillary doesn't. She's like the elected Republican. She cares about the Chamber of Commerce.
It's a great honor to be here at Democracy Now! To announce that I am running for president of the United States.
I am governor of the great state of Louisiana, and I am running for president of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America.
I hear all over the media, he's just a joke, it's just a publicity stunt, don't worry about it, it'll go away. It's not going away. Yeah. Let me tell you something. No. This is the Frankenstein monster that was created with the Tea Party. This is your worst nightmare because he's catapulted to second in the polls, and by the way, he's pissed about that.
Like
he thinks
one
he should.
poll.
What?
I don't think that Donald Trump's going to stay at the top of the polls for very long. I really don't think so.
He makes everybody else look like a midget, not in a good way, but you know what? Like here's the thing about Donald Trump. He never apologizes. He's never wrong. No matter what crazy thing he says, he's the white Kanye. Beyond liberal or conservative, it's the id. It's the lizard brain.
Exactly
this guy he said, I'm going to make the Mexicans behave, and he called them motherfuckers. Play that little.
Yeah. Listen, you motherfuckers.
Play it again. They didn't hear it.
Listen, you motherfuckers.
Listen to me, you motherfuckers. If you were at a state fair, and you were watching, the corn dog show or something. And somebody ran in and said, any of the other Republican candidates showed up. Hey, Rand Paul's here. Okay. Like Carly Fiorina just showed up. Yeah. Would you go? Donald Trump just showed up.
He also has the most important quality for running for president, which is thinking you're awesome enough to run.
That's right.
Well, that's
they
what Bill
love
said.
that.
Right.
I would love to see a Trump Christie ticket. And all East Coast, all fuck you.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Tired of hyphenated Americans. We're not Indian Americans or African Americans or Asian Americans. We're all Americans.
Bobby Jindal.
When my parents came to America, they were coming to be Americans. I think our immigration system is broken. The folks want to immigrate to America.
Univision announced it is cutting all ties with presidential candidate Donald Trump and the Miss Universe organization which produces Miss USA. The Spanish-language network's move was prompted by Trump's recent statements on Mexican immigrants. Donald took to Twitter to blast the decision and has threatened to sue Univision for breach of contract.
I'm going to have to sue Univision now. 5 years, they have to pay me almost $15 million. I have a signed contract. They can't do this. They called me up today and apologized. They didn't even know what to say.
NBC has not yet weighed in on whether it will air the pageant telecast as planned. The network has a long-standing relationship with Trump, who is the host of the Celebrity Apprentice reality show.
I am proud to announce my candidacy for the Republican nomination for President of the United States of America.
Democrat Jim Webb, the former Virginia senator, jumped into the presidential race with an email announcing his candidacy on Thursday afternoon.
On a cold, windswept day, Scott Walker solemnly took the oath of office. His state faced a staggering deficit. Unemployment lines were long. So he took big, bold action. The left erupted. They stormed the Capitol. But Scott Walker stood his ground, unintimidated. They even threatened his family, but he stood firm, and he won.
He told people who he was, what he believed, what he was going to do, and he got elected, and he did it. And his reforms are working.
Unable to make him cave, the left tried to recall him. They threw everything at him, and he beat them again.
Scott Walker remains Wisconsin's governor.
Scott Walker routed the recall. It wasn't even close.
Why'd he win?
He balanced the budget. He lowered taxes. He's turning our economy around, reforming our schools. Courage is on the ballot. What the left is trying to do is send a signal to any other reformer like Scott Walker, don't dare try this because we'll get you next.
And the left couldn't believe it.
To say that I'm shocked and stunned is pretty much an understatement.
We all thought it was going to be a long night. I had chocolate for dinner. Maybe the recall of Governor Scott Walker would actually be decided in a matter of 49 minutes. This election tonight may have just been one recall election for one governor's seat.
What happens as a result of this could be the biggest politics story of all.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
But if we're going to lead, we have to stop worrying about being loved and start caring about being respected again. I am not looking to be the most popular guy who looks in your eyes every day and tries to figure out what you want to hear, say it, and then turn around and do something else. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean, and that's what America needs right now. I'm Chris Christie, and I approve this message.
We are so honored to have you join with us here today as we officially announce that we are running to serve as your President of the United States of America.
If we nominate another Bush or give voice to Trump on Mexicans, Hillary Clinton will win, and it'll be our fault. George Pataki beat Mario Cuomo and won 3 elections in the most Democrat state. Pataki led on 9/11, cut taxes, and grew his state's economy, not by focusing on abortion and gay rights, but by reaching across the aisle. George Pataki, he'll beat Hillary Clinton.
Another mass shooting, this time in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Numerous shots fired there at 2 military locations, a naval recruiting center and a military reserve center. We can now report that 4 members of the military were killed. The gunman is also dead. A Chattanooga police officer and other individuals were injured in the shooting. I want to bring in our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, we just heard the press conference. The U.S. Attorney on the scene, William C. Killian, says they are treating this as an act of domestic terrorism.
Officials deeply concerned that the military appeared to be the target. Again, an act of terrorism. 4 members of the military killed in this event. Also, the shooter killed, as you said, George. Law enforcement officials deeply concerned because the military appeared to be the target. They are considering this a national security matter. FBI is taking the lead in the investigation, George. The FBI will be bringing in several hundred officials, agents to work this case. There's no higher priority right now. They're trying to get information about the shooter. My sources are giving an indication that they have some sense of who he is, and they're now going to dissect his background, any computers, any phones, anything related to him, to begin to figure out who he was in communication with to make sure that this is not an event that would continue.
President Obama traveling today. We've told he's been briefed. He's getting updates from his national security officials. I want to bring in our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross. Brian, we don't know exactly what the motive was here. Lots of investigations to come, but this is exactly the kind of attack that national security officials have been worried about.
Indeed, ISIS has had a steady drumbeat of calls for its followers around the world and in the U.S. to attack uniformed personnel, particularly military. There were a number of tweets that went out just this weekend calling for attacks on the U.S. military. In the past, ISIS has posted individual descriptions of military officials and officers calling for attacks on them. Again and again, ISIS has urged its followers to go after the military. In fact, we're told so far this year, at least 5 plots that were thwarted involve potential attacks on the military.
Okay, Brian Ross, Pierre Thomas, thanks very much again. 4 members of the military killed in Chattanooga, Tennessee today, a little before noon. The shooter is also dead. We'll have much more than
Look, it's only 105 degrees. I'm in Las Vegas, but I'm wearing my hoodie from Thumbtack. Thank you for the visit. I had a great time. Eat your heart out, Zuckerberg.
These weren't crazy. So he insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured.
What he said about John, I think, was offensive. He's becoming a jackass at a time when we need to have a serious debate about the future of the party and the country.
I am here to ask you for your prayers, for your support, for your efforts, because I have decided to run for President of the United States.
70,000 pages of it. If you want to know more about my plan to have a 1-page tax code, a 1-page tax return, flat tax of 14.5%,
He told me, Mr. Trump, because Bush said, my tone's not nice. My tone. I said, tone, we need tone. We need enthusiasm. We need tone. Jeb Bush. I'm not a fan of Jeb Bush, because Jeb Bush is in favor of Common Core, and he's weak on immigration. Those are 2 bad things. Who would you rather have negotiating in China, as an example? Trump or Jeb? Or Trump or Hillary? Hi. She's another one with the tone. Isn't it amazing? They both said tone the same day. I see Rick Perry the other day, and he's so, he's doing very poorly in the polls. He put glasses on so people will think he's smart. And it just doesn't work. People can see through the glasses. You have this guy, Lindsey Graham, a total lightweight. Here's a guy in the private sector, he couldn't get a job, believe me. Couldn't get a job. Senator, what a stiff. Lindsey Graham. By the way, he's registered 0 in the polls. 0. He's on television all the time. This guy, Lindsey Graham, gets out, and he
He's out there, and he calls me a jackass. I'm supposed to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. You know, I'm working hard to be nice. But every time I turn on, I have some guy that is hitting me, like hard. Now, the reason they're hitting me, in all fairness, is when you register 0 in the poll, what the hell? They have nothing to lose. So Lindsey Graham says to me, please, please, whatever you can do. You know what I'm saying to myself, what's this guy, a beggar? He's like begging me to help him with Fox and Friends. So I say, okay, and I'll mention your name. He said, could you mention my name? I said, yes, I'll mention. And he gave me his number, and I found the card. I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it. 202-228-0292. I don't know. Maybe it's, you know, it's 3-4 years ago, so maybe it's an old number. 202-228-0292. So, I don't know. Give it a shot. Your local politician, you know? He won't fix anything, but at least he'll talk to you.
Or if all else fails, you can always give your number to the Donald. This is for all the veterans.
Let no one be mistaken. Donald Trump's candidacy is a cancer on conservatism, and it must be clearly diagnosed, excised,
President Obama
and
gave away
discarded.
the store to the Iranians, to a group of people who since 1979 have been chanting death to America. This was negotiated so badly that you wouldn't let this president buy a car for you at a car dealership. I would have walked away from the table. That's what Ronald Reagan did when he walked away from Mikhail Gorbachev in Reykjavik. And so as president, the top priority is to protect the United States of America, and I'm the only one in this race who's had at least some small part of that responsibility. I'm Chris Christie.
In the face of radical Islam, some, like Rand Paul, would continue America's retreat, while Rick Santorum continues to call for a stronger national defense. On education, Mike Huckabee supported Common Core, something Rick Santorum has always stood against. It's Rick Santorum with a plan to end the immigration crisis. Rick Santorum, the one conservative conservatives can trust. Working Again PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hello, I'm Jim Gilmore, and today I'm announcing my candidacy for the Republican nomination for President of the
When
United
I think
States.
about why I'm doing this, I think about my mother, Dorothy. She was abandoned by her parents at the age of 8, sent from Chicago to LA to live with grandparents who didn't want her. But people showed her kindness, gave her a chance. Like the teacher who saw my mother had no money for food and started bringing her extra from home, whispering, "You know, Dorothy, I just brought too much food today." She went to work in somebody else's home at age 14. For the first time, she saw parents who loved and cared for their children. And that's the kind of loving family she provided for us. When she needed a champion, someone was there. I think about all the Dorothys all over America who fight for their families, who never give up. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I've always done this. For all the Dorothys. I'm Hillary Clinton,
Of course,
and
in
I approve
Texas,
this message.
we cook bacon a little differently than most folks. Coming down. All right, let's see if we got some bacon. All right. Machine gun bacon.
You
to meet the candidates. So please welcome the candidates.
As to the Clintons, I've been dealing with this crowd for 20 years. I'm fluent in Clinton speak. You want me to translate, Jack? When he says, Bill says, I didn't have sex with that woman, he did.
First of all, Washington would say you can't give health savings accounts to the indigent because they're too stupid and they wouldn't be able to manage them. They think everybody's like them. But the fact that it's not true. And
if General Patton Eisenhower had said World War II was going to be a propaganda war, the French would be speaking German, absolutely let's arm our military.
What specifically, what agencies would you either eliminate or cut?
I've heard this question before.
I thought you might. I thought you might go there.
Might do it.
John McCain was on my radio show, Senator McCain, on Friday, touting your foreign policy experience, and I think he said of all the candidates running, you may have the deepest experience. So
well, when he's right, he's right.
Well, let's. Is it time to put a woman on the $20 bill, and if so, who?
Carly's a pretty good choice. I like Carly. There you go. Put Carly on the bill.
I thought you were going to say Mrs. Santorum.
Well, okay, yeah, now you're going to get me in trouble. Okay, Mrs. Karen, I'm putting you. That's what I was thinking, actually.
People observe this say that, you know, your best time to run may have come and gone. I'd like to know what makes a lot of you personally tick to make such a big decision with you and your family.
Jack, you saying I'm washed up?
No.
Oh, God.
No. But I mean,
my dad is probably the most perfect man alive, so it's very hard for me to be critical of him. In fact, I got a T-shirt that says at the Jeb swag store that says, my dad's the greatest man alive. If you don't like it, I'll take you outside.
That will conclude this evening's program. Thank you to our participants.
Do you want it?
Have you ever heard of Jim Gilmore?
Do you need me?
Well, you're about to.
Do you want it?
Tonight on the debate stage,
do you need me?
I'm going to bring it.
Do you want it? Do you need me?
I'm Gil Moore.
Do you want it?
Not Gil Less. You've heard about the Gilmore Girls? I'm the Gilmore Man.
This is the first official event in the campaign for the Republican nomination for president. Welcome to Cleveland, Ohio. It is debate night. So you will hear from all 17 candidates tonight, and you'll meet 7 of them right now. Starting with 3-time governor in the state of Texas, Rick Perry.
Also 2-time senator from Pennsylvania, Rick Santorum.
Two-time governor in the state of Louisiana, acting governor, Bobby Jindal.
Businesswoman and former CEO of Hewlett-Packard, Carly Fiorina.
The senior senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham.
Former 3-term governor of New York, George Pataki.
And former Virginia governor, Jim Gilmore.
But he is dominating this conversation. Governor Perry, you two have been going at it. But given the large disparity in your poll numbers, he seems to be getting the better of you.
Well, when you look at the celebrity of Donald Trump, then I think that says a lot about it. One thing I like to remind people is back in 2007, Rudy Giuliani was leading the polls for almost a year. I'll suggest a part of that was his celebrity. Fred Thompson was the other one, a man who had spent a lot of time on that screen. I've had my issues with Donald Trump. I talked about Donald Trump from the standpoint of being an individual who was using his celebrity rather than his conservatism.
So Carly Fiorina, is he getting the better of you?
Well, I don't know. I didn't get a phone call from Bill Clinton
before I jumped in the race. Did any of you get a phone call from Bill Clinton? I didn't. Maybe it's because I hadn't given money to the foundation or donated to his wife's Senate campaign.
Why should the American people, after 2 wars in Iraq, sacrifice yet again on a third war?
If we don't stop them over there, they are coming here just as sure as I stand here in front of you.
My father was born in Italy, and shortly after he was born, my grandfather immigrated to this country. Under the laws of this country, he wasn't allowed to be with his father for 7 years. Spent the first 7 years of his life in fascist Italy under Benito Mussolini. Not a very pleasant place to be. I asked my dad after, obviously, I found out about this, and I said, didn't you resent America for not letting you be with your father in those formative and very threatening years? You know what he said to me? America was worth the wait. We're a country of laws, Bill.
And the idea that this negotiation, I will tell you one thing, I would a whole lot rather had Carly Fiorina over there doing our negotiation than John Kerry. Maybe we would have gotten a deal where we didn't give everything away.
Yep, sometimes it's a complicated situation, but some things are black and white. On day one in the Oval Office, I would make 2 phone calls. The first one would be to my good friend Bibi Netanyahu to reassure him we will stand with the state of Israel. The second will be to the supreme leader of Iran. He might not take my phone call, but he would get the message.
The only way we're going to defund Planned Parenthood is to have a pro-life president. You want to see a war on women? Come with me to Iraq and Afghanistan, folks. I've been there 35 times. I'll show you what they do to women. Every penny we needed from every penny we got from Social Security, because my sister was a minor, we needed. Today, I'm 60, I'm not married, I don't have any kids. I would give up some Social Security to save a system that Americans are going to depend on now and in the future.
You know, we've got a lot of great talkers running for president. We've already got a great talker in the White House. We cannot afford 4 more years of on-the-job training. We need a doer, not a talker.
And at 8:50, our next debate with the top 10 candidates, hosted by Brett Baer, Megyn Kelly, and Chris Wallace.
Live from Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, Ohio, alongside my co-moderators, Megyn Kelly and Chris Wallace. With our partner, Facebook, we welcome you to the Republican primary debate night on Fox, the first debates of the 2016 presidential campaign.
In the center of the stage tonight, businessman Donald Trump. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee.
Neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson. Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. And your very own Governor of Ohio, John Kasich.
Is there anyone on stage, and can I see hands, who is unwilling tonight to pledge your support to the eventual nominee of the Republican Party and pledge to not run an independent campaign against that person? Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, to be clear, you're standing on a Republican primary debate.
I fully understand.
Tonight, you can't say if another one of these...
This is what's wrong. I mean, This is what's wrong. He buys and sells politicians of all stripes. He's already, hey, look, he's already hedging his bet on the Clintons, okay? So if he doesn't run as a Republican, maybe he supports Clinton, or maybe he runs as an independent. Okay. But I'd say that he's already hedging his bets because he's used to buying politicians.
Well, I've given him plenty of money. Just to be clear, you can't make it. We're going to move on. You're not going to make the pledge tonight.
I will not make the pledge at this time.
Okay.
If I'm our nominee, how is Hillary Clinton going to lecture me about living paycheck to paycheck? I was raised paycheck to paycheck.
They call me Vito Corleone because I vetoed 2,500 separate line items in the budget.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account.
Only
has
Rosie
several-
O'Donnell. I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. And honestly, Megan, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that. But you know what?
It's time that we recognize the Supreme Court is not the supreme being, and we change the policy to be pro-life and protect children instead of rip up their body parts and sell them like they're parts to a Buick.
Mr. Trump, it has not escaped anybody's notice that you say that the Mexican government is sending criminals, rapists, drug dealers across the border. Governor Bush has called those remarks, quote, extraordinarily ugly. I'd like you're right next to him, talk to him directly and say how you respond to that. And you have repeatedly said that you have evidence that the Mexican government is doing this, but that you have evidence you have refused or declined to share. Why not use this first Republican presidential debate to share your proof with the American people?
So, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking about it. But we need, Jeb, to build a wall. We need to keep illegals out.
Senator, you know, when you're sitting in a subcommittee just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that. When you're responsible for protecting the lives of the American people, then what you need to do is to make sure that you use the system the way it's supposed to work.
Here's the problem, Governor. You fundamentally misunderstand the Bill of Rights. Every time you did a case, you got a warrant from a judge. I'm talking about searches without warrants, indiscriminately of all Americans' records, and that's what I fought to end. I don't trust President Obama with our records. I know you gave him a big hug, and if you want to give him a big hug again, go right ahead.
Go ahead, Governor.
And you know, Senator Paul, you know, the hugs that I remember are the hugs that I gave to the families who lost their people on September 11th. Those are the hugs I remember, and those had nothing to do with politics, unlike what you're doing by cutting speeches on the floor of the Senate, then putting them on the internet within a half an hour to raise money for your campaign, and while still putting our country at risk.
All right, we're going to cut it off there. We have plenty more we want to get to.
What we need is a commander-in-chief who makes clear, if you join ISIS, if you wage jihad on America, then you are signing your death warrant.
How do you look at them now and say your brother's war was a mistake?
Knowing what we know now, with faulty intelligence and not having security be the first priority when we invaded, it was a mistake. I wouldn't have gone in.
As president, would you bring back waterboarding?
Well, thank you, Megan. I wasn't sure I was going to get to talk again.
We have a lot for you. Don't worry.
1 second.
I got a newsflash.
I know. Hold on, Senator Paul.
Newsflash, the Republican Party's been fighting against a single-payer system for a decade. So I think you're on the wrong side of this if you're still arguing for a single-payer system. I don't think you heard me. You're having a hard time tonight.
All right. And you said recently, quote, when you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to do.
You better believe it.
So what specifically did they do?
If I ask them, if I need them, you know, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand. A lot of money.
Not me. Not me. But you're welcome to give me a check, Donald, if you'd like.
Many of them.
Actually, to be clear,
That's
he
right.
supported Charlie Crist.
Not Mike.
Charlie,
but I have...
Donald, if you end your campaign, I hope you will give to me.
Good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me, Governor. I will tell you that our system is broken. I give to many people. Before 2 months ago, I was a businessman. I give to everybody. When they call, I give. And you know what? When I need something from them 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them. They are there for me.
So
and that's a broken system.
So what'd you get from Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I'll tell you what. With Hillary Clinton, I said, be at my wedding, and she came to my wedding. You know why? She had no choice because I gave.
The fair tax transforms the process by which we fund Social Security and Medicare, because the money paid at consumption is paid by everybody, including illegals, prostitutes, pimps, drug dealers, all the people that are freeloading off the system now. That's why it ought to be a transformed system.
All right. All right, enough. Mr. Trump.
Getting a little R-rated.
Lenders to your company lost over $1 billion and more than 1,100 people were laid off.
Well,
is that the way that you run the country?
Let me tell you about the lenders. First of all, these lenders aren't babies. These are total killers. These are not the nice, sweet little people that you think, okay? You know, I mean, you're living in a world of the make-believe, Chris. You want to know the truth.
Who said you called Mr. Trump a clown, a buffoon, something else that cannot be repeated on television.
None of which is true.
Is it true?
No, it's not true. But I have said that Mr. Trump's language is divisive.
Well, look, I'm an old-fashioned person here, and I happen to believe in traditional marriage. But I've also said the court has ruled.
But how would you explain to your child?
Megan, the court has ruled, and I said we'll accept it. And guess what? I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay. Because somebody doesn't think the way I do, doesn't mean that I can't care about them or I can't love them. So if one of my daughters happened to be that, of course I would love them and I would accept them.
Well, first off, for the cyber attack with Russia the other day, it's sad to think right now, but probably the Russian and Chinese government know more about Hillary Clinton's email server than do the members of the United States Congress.
The military is not a social experiment. The purpose of the military is kill people and break things.
Well, I haven't said anything about me being the only one to do anything, so let me try that. I'm the only one to separate Siamese twins. The only one to operate on babies while they were still in the mother's womb. The only one to take out half of a brain, although you would think if you go to Washington that someone had beat me to it. But
it seems like this election has been a whole lot about a person who's very high in the polls, but doesn't have a clue about how to govern, a person who has been filled with scandals and who could not lead. And of course, I'm talking about Hillary Clinton.
For the first Republican primary debate night of the 2016 presidential race, our thanks to the candidates who will now be joined by their families on stage.
Asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions, and you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever. But she was, in my opinion, she was.
Senator Bernie Sanders' first event when he arrived in Seattle came to a screeching halt over the weekend when this happened.
We are trying to be reasonable. We are trying to be reasonable. We are trying to be reasonable. We are reasonable. We are trying.
Senator Sanders was supposed to headline a rally celebrating the 80th anniversary of Social Security, but the Black Lives Matter protesters would not leave, taking over the microphone and forcing organizers to shut down his event. Sanders addressed the interruption, saying, quote, "I am disappointed that two people disrupted a rally attended by thousands at which I was invited to speak about fighting to protect Social Security and Medicare. I was especially disappointed because on criminal justice reform and the need to fight racism, there is no other candidate for president who will fight harder than me."
I'm not, I have no idea. That's why we turned it over. What, like with a cloth or something? Well, no. I don't know how it works digitally at all. I do not have any. Ed, I know
Rick Perry has declared war on Washington. They're wasting our money, listening to our phone calls, making deals with people who want to kill us. Our country's best defense is Rick Perry. When Washington refused to protect the border, he did it himself. When Washington pushed Obamacare on Texas, he sent them packing. We must cut Washington down to size and then rebuild it from the ground up. Paid for by Opportunity and Freedom.
Lawlessness in America and around the world under Barack Obama. Sanctuary cities engulfing Americans in crime. Drugs running rampant and destroying lives. ISIS beheading Christians. Iranian radicals and nuclear weapons. Now, Hillary Clinton thinks the law doesn't apply to her. Really? We need a strong law enforcer as president. Someone who says what he means and means what he says. We can do it. Let's make America.
Okay, who's next? Yeah, please. Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Go ahead. No, you don't. You haven't been called. Go back to Univision. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You cannot deport 11 million people. You
cannot build a 1900
Go ahead.
wall. You cannot deny citizenship to children in this
Sit
country.
down, please.
Those ideas,
You weren't called.
I'm a reporter and don't touch me, sir. Don't touch
Go.
me, sir. You cannot touch me. I have the right to ask a question. I have the right to ask a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, that's Jorge Ramos
Hi,
of
Jim,
Univision.
yes.
He's being escorted out of the room. He was asking a question, and Donald Trump
No,
says
I
he
wouldn't
didn't
do
call
that.
on him. That's
She
why
actually
he
should be
is being
apologizing.
removed. Jorge
But I
Ramos refused to back down.
Good to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So here's the problem with your immigration plan. It's full of empty promises.
Okay.
You cannot deport 11 million undocumented immigrants. You cannot deny citizenship to the children in this country. You cannot build a 19...
Why do you say that?
You cannot do that.
Well, a lot of people think, no, excuse me.
You have to change the Constitution, Mr. Trump.
A lot of people, but a lot of people think that's not right, that an act of Congress can do it. Now, it's possibly going to have to be tested in courts, but a lot of people think that if you come and you're on the other side of the border, I'm not talking about Mexico, somebody on the other side of the border, a woman is getting ready to have a baby, she crosses the border for one day, has the baby, all of a sudden, for the next 80 years, hopefully longer, but for the next 80 years, we have to take care of the people. How much am I suing Univision for right now? No. Do you know the number? No. Tell me. Tell me. Do you know the number? And you know you're a part of the lawsuit. How much am I suing Univision for? Wait.
I'm a reporter.
It's $500 million. Okay, good. And they're very concerned about it, I have to tell you. I'm very good at this stuff.
The United States has reached a historic understanding with Iran.
New revelations of a secret side agreement in the Iran nuclear deal.
They get 24 days notice of an inspection. They get to pick their own inspectors.
We think this is a historic mistake.
This is a deal which we cannot lock our country into. I think it's a bad deal.
It actually paves a path for Iran to have a nuclear weapon.
You will rip up the agreement if there's one when you become president?
I'll certainly look at it. One thing that I won't do is to say, as a candidate, I'm going to turn up the agreement on the first day.
I refuse to live with a deal that threatens our safety and that of our closest allies. If Congress fails to stop the nuclear deal, I will terminate it on day one. American leadership is back, and together with our allies, we will not surrender another inch of ground. America will not be intimidated, and neither will I. Thank you very much.
The best way for the Republicans to win is if I win the nomination and go directly against whoever they happen to put up. And for that reason, I have signed the pledge.
I'm here at the place where Bill Clinton made his promise with Newt Gingrich to the American people. I am here to announce my candidacy for the president.
Maybe you would like to personally express your thanks to the person who had the courage to cause a lot of people to start standing up.
Thank you all so much. I love you all so very much.
We're leading in every single poll.
I'm sorry, winning.
But the polls have been through the roof.
Like winning.
And Kanye West has been so great. I would never say bad about him because he says such nice things about me.
Giant marquee name comes through on your caller ID and it's like, winning.
When I'm winning in all the polls.
Duh. Winning.
I'm winning in all the states.
You know, you make a choice to win and you win.
I'm winning everywhere.
Wow, winning. I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what?
The Louisiana governor, the Republican presidential candidate, Bobby Jindal, today unleashed a barrage of criticism against Trump. He says it's time for the Republican frontrunner to go back to reality TV.
He's non-serious. He's a carnival act. Here's the truth about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is shallow. He has no understanding of policy. He is full of bluster. He has no substance. He lacks the intellectual curiosity to even learn. You can't argue policy with this guy. The only thing that Donald Trump believes
exactly
in is
what
himself.
you're demanding.
Sure, what I'm demanding is what the Democratic Party has in the past been very good at, and that is actually holding presidential debates and letting the people of the United States know what our leaders had to offer by way of ideas that serve, that actually move every American family forward. And right now what we've seen is this edict from the chair of the DNC, and I believe that the DNC members were not even consulted. Some of the breaking news today is that 2 vice chairs of the DNC have actually stepped forward and said, you know what? This is not good for our party. It's not good for our country. How are we going to make our case if we limit debates? Or worse, I mean, the one debate that they're having in New Hampshire in a very cynical way was stuck on a Saturday night right before Christmas at the height of shopping and holiday season. I can only imagine that the next decree from the chair will be that you can only watch Democratic presidential debates by subscribing to Netflix.
That is why today I'm suspending my campaign for the presidency of the United States.
Ladies, look at this face. And look at all of your faces. The face of leadership. The face of leadership in our party, the party of women's suffrage. The face of leadership in your communities, in your businesses, in your places of work and worship. Ladies, note to Democrat Party. We are not a special interest group. We are the majority of the nation. This is the face of a 61-year-old woman. I am proud of every year and every wrinkle.
Did you get that?
Super Bowl pick this year.
My Super Bowl pick this year is the same one I've made for the last 40 years, the Miami Dolphins.
Super Bowl pick winning percentage.
I have never gotten a Super Bowl right.
Sorry. What's your fantasy football team name?
I've had different names. This year I think we're going to call it the Marco Polos.
More nervous before first presidential debate or first college football game?
I was more nervous before my first college football game because you were actually going to get hit. No one was going to hit me at the debate.
NFC dark horse.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Most underrated NFL quarterback.
Warren Moon. Really an amazing athlete.
Most underrated president.
Probably Truman. I don't think we give him enough credit for the difficult decisions he had to make at the end of the Second World War.
Best football game you've ever been to?
1985, Monday Night Football, undefeated Bears against the Dolphins. I was there with my dad. Never forget that night.
Favorite Miami Dolphins cheerleader?
That's easy. Jeanette Rubio.
Harder to recover, Hillary's emails or Tom Brady's text messages?
I think it's been harder to get Hillary Clinton's emails, and a lot more meaningful was in those emails.
Senator who'd make the best NFL player?
Other than me, Cory Booker from New Jersey.
NFLer who would make the best politician?
Peyton Manning. He's a pretty good communicator. If not, Aaron Rodgers.
Best coaching advice you ever gave your youth team?
Have fun. If you do the best you can.
Most important preparation for a big game or big speech?
Make sure that there's water nearby. Like right now.
The Hungry for Power Games.
Let us bid farewell to the fallen. Farewell, Rick Perry.
There's a scorpion in the desert. For most of us, its venom is a clear and deadly threat. But others refuse to even speak its name. Isn't it time we recognize the scorpion for what it is before it strikes again?
I'm Ted Cruz, and I approve this.
It's debate night for the Republicans. The candidates are here. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal. The former U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, Rick Santorum. And former New York Governor George Pataki. You have said that the frontrunner, Donald Trump, is a, quote, unstable, narcissistic egomaniac. Now, we are in the house of Reagan, who made famous the so-called 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of thy fellow Republican. What drove you to violate that unofficial commandment?
Well, Jake, I'm in compliance with the 11th commandment, and I would tell my fellow Republicans, let's stop treating Donald Trump like a Republican. If he were really a conservative, and 30 points ahead, I would endorse him.
Donald Trump is not going to be the Republican nominee, period. Flat out, I guarantee you that.
Governor,
I will vote for the Republican nominee.
You said on Twitter that you would not support Donald Trump. If he's the nominee, will you support him?
He's not going to be the nominee.
There are no Democrats here tonight. If you're here, raise your hand. You went to the wrong. Well, welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
The point is that I had a bill, and
that went nowhere.
Well, you're right, Lindsay. It went nowhere because we had a president back then who was for more comprehensive immigration reform than I was.
George W. Bush.
That's right.
Who won with Hispanics?
You know what we need to do, Lindsay, is
we
need to win. We need to win fighting for Americans. We need to win fighting for the workers in this country who are hurting, including Hispanics.
Americans.
The people who
kind of wow. You know, we're going to have a president who defies the Supreme Court because they don't agree.
If they're wrong,
then you don't have the rule of law.
No. I wasn't the best law student. By the end of this debate, it'd be the most time I've ever spent in any library. But our leading candidate gets his foreign policy from watching television. And what I heard last night is the Cartoon Network, ooh, I'm big, I'm strong, we're going to hit him in the head. That's not foreign policy. That's a cartoon character.
Thanks to the candidates for a great debate. In just a moment, we're bringing the candidates from both of tonight's debates together for a group photo. It will be a first in this campaign. And then, of course, the main event, the top 11 candidates going head-to-head. I'm Jake Tapper. We're live at the Ronald Reagan Library in Simi Valley, California for the main event.
And in fact, not only are we the A-team, we even have our own Mr. T, who doesn't mind saying about others, you're a fool. And I'm delighted to be here with all of these guys and would put any of them in an administration that I led.
And I'm also aware that California has a drought, and so that's why I made sure I brought my own water.
First of all, Rand Paul shouldn't even be on this stage. He's number 11. He's got 1% in the polls, and how he got up here, there's far too many people. I kind of have to laugh when I think, sounds like a non sequitur. He was asked whether or not he would be capable and it would be in good hands to be in charge of the nuclear weapons, and all of a sudden there's a sideways attack at me. I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. That I can tell you.
But Jake, we're not talking about real issues. And Mr. Trump, we don't need an apprentice in the White House. We don't need an apprentice in the White House. We have one right now. No, let me talk about this.
In Wisconsin, you're losing $2.2 billion right now.
You're using
I would do so much better than that.
Mr. Trump.
When the folks of Iowa found out the true facts of the job that you've done in Wisconsin, all of a sudden you tubed. He was number 1. Now he's number 6 or 7 in the polls. So
I know that Ben wasn't talking about me. Look at him smiling at me right now. I know Ben didn't mean it about me.
Thank you, Governor Christie.
One of these other guys, I'm sure.
Dr. Carson, who?
He wanted casino gambling in Florida.
I didn't want
Yes, you did.
Totally false.
You wanted it, and you didn't get it because I was opposed to casino gambling before, during, and after. And that's not, I'm not going to be bought by anybody.
If I wanted it, I would have gotten it.
No way, Ben.
I didn't want to. Excuse me. 1 second.
No.
I
The
didn't
simple
want
fact
to.
is,
Jeff,
Donald,
oh,
you
good.
cannot take
More energy tonight. I like that. Look,
I was asked the question.
I didn't want.
Watch a fully formed fetus on the table, its heart beating, its legs kicking, while someone says we have to keep it alive to harvest its brain.
Donald Trump said the following about you, quote, "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that, the face of our next president?"
I think she's got a beautiful face, and I think she's a beautiful woman. And he said today that Donald Trump is maybe the best interview there is anywhere that he's ever done. Now, unless he was just saying that on CNN to be nice, but he did say that.
Oh, you're the best interview in America.
I'm the only person up here that fought against going into Iraq.
Hugh,
now,
can I make a response to that?
Just excuse me 1 second,
Can
Rand,
I
if
make
you
a
don't mind,
response to
Rand.
that?
You know, you are on less. You do have your 1%.
So 40 years ago, I smoked marijuana, and I admit it. I'm sure that other people might have done it and may not want to say it in front of 25 million people. My mom's not happy that I just did.
And I would be willing to write mine off 100%, Dana.
So is a voluntary program a way to get the Social Security system solvent again, like that?
No, it's not, but when Donald did it, it's a good start. That's really good.
I think you're going to see a big impact on autism.
Dr. Carson, you just heard his medical take.
He's an okay doctor.
Okay.
That's an easy one. I'd put my wife on there.
I'd put my mother on there.
I would go with Ronald Reagan's partner, Margaret Thatcher. Probably illegal, but what the heck? Since it's not going to happen.
It's probably not maybe legal, but I would pick Mother Teresa.
Your Secret Service code name to be?
You know, I've been called a lot of names by a lot of different people. Now I got to get called by names by the Secret Service.
Ever ready. It's very high energy, Donald.
Mr. Trump?
Humble.
That's a good one.
That concludes this Republican presidential debate. On behalf of everyone here at CNN, we want to thank the candidates, the Reagan Library, and the Republican National Committee.
With this in mind, I will suspend my campaign
when it launched, direct from the university chairman's own mouth.
At Trump University, we teach success. That's what it's all about, success. It's going to happen to you.
Alan Garten is Donald Trump's attorney. He's defending the school from 3 separate lawsuits, 2 class action lawsuits filed in California and 1 filed by New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman.